What's up guys, Zenara here, and today I'm going to be doing a video about a possible premium battle deck set for Bermuda Triangle. So I know a couple months ago I made a video about these sets that Pale Moon and Grand Blue are getting. And I proposed that maybe Bermuda might get one in the future, or other clans, because it's a great idea for people to just buy a constructed set that's already sort of capable of playing premium. But either way, I think every clan should get one, and I thought that maybe I would like to make a mock-up list of possibly what Bushiroad can make for Bermuda. As in, is just a super simple, easy list to get people into the format, as well as Bermuda as a whole. And yeah, so the idea that I proposed, I proposed a couple ideas. I said they can probably do Ange, they can do maybe Prism, but like I said, Rosa is still banned in the English format, so it might not help for V Premium. They could do Riviere, they could do all sorts of stuff. But today I wanted to talk about Ange specifically because I think it has like the most easiest strategy for a new player to get the hang of, and it is kind of combo based, but so is Grand Blue and Pale Moon. So that's why I thought maybe this is a pretty good idea for new players to get into the format. So I'm not going to really go over all the cards. I'm just going to go over the basic idea of the deck set and what it's trying to accomplish. So the deck actually has two bosses. So the first one is Perfect Performance on for V series. So both of these will be reprinted. Not that they needed to be reprinted, but it's just something for newer players to be able to attain, and they also could transition this into V. So the concept of Ange is basically if you bounce 4 of your normal unit rearguards, or just 4 normal unit rearguards on either side, you can gain another imaginary gift Force, and you can call a card from your deck, and you want to call Tidua from your deck to get extra attacks. Or in this case, based on other cards here, we have Speaker, you can get an additional attack, you have GB activated, you can call Martoa to call a card from your hand and get more attacks that way, and you can call Lieselot to get more attacks. So basically one of the strategies is to multi-attack with Ange if your opponent doesn't have any disruption, which is really nice. And of course in our stride zone we have our Heltrata, which is able to de-stride in the battle phase and stand your heart card, so you can stand your Ange or your Tidora. So once you restand your Ange, you're able to do all that stuff like I said before, able to call cards from the deck, able to get more multi-attack. So to help accomplish this goal of getting the 4 normal units on your board, we are playing of course Martoa, which is a V series card. It is a promo, and in the Harry deck set, as well as I believe in a Grand Blue one as well, but I know it's in the Harry deck set that they have Cutie Paratrooper, which is also a promo. So I can still see them adding Martoa to the deck set as a promo to get the extra normal units that you need, because you could call her, you could essentially get another normal unit. If you call Lieselot, you could get another normal unit that way, or just call 2 Martoas, Soul Blast 2, and call 2 normal units that way. As well as to help with Ange, we are playing the stand trigger. So this is a very old stand trigger G series, and I believe both deck sets, I'm not 100% sure on Harry because I haven't looked at it that much in the triggers, but I know in the Grand Blue set they do play stand triggers. So I'm thinking they will go a rainbow route for the deck sets to allow options for the beginners to have in their deck. So this card only has one ability. It's very simple. So GB1, Soul Boss 1 to discard this card. When this unit is returned to your hand from Rearguard Circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 1 of your rearguards, return to your hand, and choose up to 1 card from your hand and call it to Rearguard Circle. So you can use, if you don't have 2 Martoa, you can basically call Lauren on Rearguard Circle, use Heltrata, Bouncer, and call Martoa. Martoa activates first, so you can call a rearguard, and then you could bounce Martoa again and call her again. If you have the extra soul, that is, it is a 3 soul blast combo, but you can get your normal units that way. You can also bounce any rear guard since it doesn't specify normal unit. But remember, Anj herself needs normal units to be bounced for her effect, so you don't want to call this as a potential target unless you're bouncing it with Aqua or something. But you could use Aqua in your sorry, Aqua's a normal unit only, but you can use something like Speaker to get more multi attacks, or to use Lauren to get more procs to bounce. So these two use soul, so this is why we have Lieselot as a good early game card, as well as a way to fuel soul. We have Vanessa, which you can put a grade 3 or greater from your drop zone to the bottom of your deck. You put this in your soul, you could draw a card. So this also fuels, again, your Martoa and your stand trigger to be able to do those combos and get the normal units out on the board to use Anj to call Tidua from your deck, or any other normal unit you want for your deck. Now the second boss of the deck is Tidua, which you can also ride her, and she will get, if you returned 3 or more normal units on either player's board, she can get 15,000 power to end of the turn. And then at the end of battle she attacked, you can pay the cost, and you can stand her if you bounced 3 or more normal units, or just 3 or more rear guards in general. So this counts for your opponent as well. This counts as yours as well. So you could ride her and then do Heltrada. You bounce your board if you bounce more than 3. Your heart card, which is Tidua, will proc. You can essentially have 3 Vanguard restands, so that's another game plan. As well as you're able to, again, you can do all this stuff, like I said, for Anj, for Tidua as well, to get more multi attacks on the rear guard circle. Now, a big issue that's going to come up in this deck is Counterblast. So that's why I'm suggesting that maybe they'll add Spiana to the deck, because you're able to countercharge, you're able to put your Tiras back into the deck if you call too many of them. And if you have any Anjas that you discarded or Soul Blast or rewrote and stuff, you can just use that. Also, this works if you call a heal trigger from the grade 3 heal trigger from Lieselot, because you're able to countercharge your other heals back into deck. So it's just more of a consistency buff for countercharging, because Tidua has a counterblast, Anj has a counterblast, Speak as a counterblast, your Heltrada is a counterblast. Like, there's a lot of counterblasts in the deck, and we need some consistent countercharge. So this is one of the most consistent countercharge that doesn't eat up soul, because you need Martoa for your soul, and you need Lauren for your soul as well during your combo turns. Now, some other consistency pieces, of course, we have Senna, just to be able to find your grade 3, depending on what deck you're facing, or like whatever you want for your deck to go. Even if you're a new player, you want to build it a different way, you have your Sennas. Aqua's a good consistency card too, to be able to just draw, make nice power lanes, and be able to increase the consistency of Tidua during your main phase as well, which we play other strides to help you use Tidua to get her bounces procced before she starts battle phase. And to Saria, this could be bumped up if Bushro decides to. This is one of the cards that is going up in price in the English market. But she's also a nice consistency buff. You can discard a card when she's placed in Vanguard Rigor Circle. You can look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You can choose up to any unit from among them, put it to your hand, put the rest of the bottom deck. And she can become a 50k attacker or 20k attacker if your opponent is grade 3 or greater. So this is a good consistency buff of finding your grade 3s, or just finding any card you need. If you need a Lauren, you can use Saria in that case. And if you need like Martoa, Spiana, Saria is also just a good option for that. Now for the strides, it was kind of difficult for me to decide like what strides they'll do, because looking at their deck set, like their main boss stride is only as a one of. Grand Blue has Bad Bounty. I know they have Obadiah as a consistency piece to be able to get your stuff in the drop zone, but their main win con was just a one of. So that's why I put Heltron as a one of. Even though this deck, you kind of only want to use it once, because once you kind of blow through all your resources, it's kind of hard to get it back if your opponent has a lot of cards. But then again, this is a beginner deck, so the idea is for them to use Heltrata to close the game. Next we have one Titera, the grade 4. This is obviously a restander for the deck. It's a costless restander. It has been reprinted in the English side, so if a player wants to buy more, they can, and they're very cheap. And this basically, this can power up your Shushu rearguards. So if you have a Tira on rearguard circle, she will get power, and if you somehow are able to bounce 3 or more normal units during your turn, or your opponent's normal units, the rearguard can restand as well. So this also could be in our second win con if they have 2 Tira, like a Tira on Vanguard, Rye Tira, and have another Tira in hand. So one Anj just to fit the theme of the deck. You can also, with the amount of counter charge you can possibly do, you can bounce your entire board, get the extra drive, call Tira with double force marker as well, and able to just push your opponent that way. Also doesn't want to attack against Lead Joker or any other matchups they might need. One of Shani, this could be bumped up to 2, but I wasn't sure what card they might add as more copies. Shani basically, she doesn't have any, well, there isn't any Harmony cards in the deck, but the fact is, if you call a card behind her, she'll be in Harmony, and you can essentially just call 2 from the top 10, which is still a pretty good stride, especially in a deck set like this that doesn't have much like good consistency of finding pieces other than just naturally drawing it. So Shani is also an option that you can do for this, that they might do. Loris in this case is like a cheaper Anj, but also this just allows the beginner to be able to proc Tira during their main phase. So if they have it on their second stride, or even if they G guard, they're able to go into this. If they have like 2 force markers on a rearguard circle, if they use Anj, of course, they can just put that Tira on rearguard circle, and it will be swinging 33 twice. And if you have Spica, you can swing even more times. So this just allows you to proc Tira early. It's not really for the Harmony effect or getting like the extra crit or the extra power, but the player could get Harmony cards to allow that as well. 2 of Lapria, just because if the player rides on Tira, you're able to get that extra draw, which can help them survive in the later parts of the game, and to be able to build that hand up for your G guards, which I'll go over in a bit. But she's able to just work well with Tira, and if you somehow stride her later in the game, you get more multi-attacks during the battle phase. And if you've been riding or you use Anj for some reason, and then ride Tira to this, you get more multi-attack. So I think that works really well for the deck. And lastly, we have Olivia. This is a pretty outdated card. However, I have been testing with Martoa and Lauren in this deck, and you can get a lot of attacks just thanks to Martoa existing. And if you have 2 force markers on one circle, you just keep abusing that one circle. If you have Spica, you keep calling out one rearguard to it. And Olivia, you have enough different normal units that you can combo with this. So if you're a veteran Bermuda player, or you just know how Spica combos worked in the day, you're able to just continuously get multi-attacks on your stride turn. Although it is a GB2 effect, you can always just stride into Lapria for the advantage. Shani to call 2 and to get, just to conserve cards in your hand. If they're feeling ballsy, they can stride Heltrata first to try to kill. So that's all for the strides. Now for the G guards, I believe like each of the sets are like 4 to 5 G guards. So I try to model theirs. So the most important G guard obviously is Citron, because it's a 25k shield. You could call a grade 1 from your hand, a grade 1 or greater. It combos well with Aqua. You can use Martola if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. You can use Saria to dig for like a PG. It has a lot of potential for a new player to be able to use. It is reprinted, so they're able to access more copies. But I think like in the Grand Blue set, you have Negro Lily, which is a very important combo piece for the deck to be able to do defensive plays or just get more resources with Greed Shade, and as well as Pale Moon being able to do defensive combos as well. So I believe they'll want the player, a new player, to be able to have those interactions during the battle phase. So that's why we're playing. That's why I'm suggesting they might play 2 of Citron. Next, 1 Leona. I would love for this to be a 2 of, just because in the English market these are like skyrocketed. There's hardly any stock, but this is just a free LaRousse. It doesn't cost any counterblast. You can bounce back a rear guard, and if you do, you can just call that unit back to Garden Circle, or you have to call a card from your hand if you bounced. And if it's the same unit you bounced, it gets extra shield. So it's pretty nice if you want to protect your Titera or something like that, and just other rear guards that might be important to you. If you call a trigger, you can bounce that back as well, gain more shield and stuff like that. So I think they'll just add this as a 1-of though. I can see them adding more copies of Citron instead. LaRousse, it's a new G guard. Obviously they wouldn't want to add like 2 copies and hurt their sales, but LaRousse is also a good card to be able to counterblast to return a normal unit from your hand. You can't return trigger units, but you're able to either get 15,000 shield if it's a grade 2 or less, or you give your Vanguard a 5k defensive buff. So we do play Tira on the rear guard circle, so she could be used to target a bouncer back, and guess what? You can ride her next turn and bounce back any other normal units or opponent's annoying units on board. So I think that they would just add 1 of this just because, again, they don't want to hurt their own sales when it comes to the premium set, even though it was a year ago. And lastly, 1 Blessed Sparkle Sandy, just a G-Guard flip. This deck can get a pretty sizable hand if you hit your draw triggers, if you draw a bunch of cards from Martoa, and just getting a lot of good calls from Liesla as well. So this is just a 1-of. You can flip a G-Guard from your G-Zone, and she gets 5,000 shield for every 2 cards in your hand. Then you can counterblast 1 to get an extra 5k shield. So again, this is a counterblast. This is a counterblast. 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 Counterblast 2. Counterblast and counterblast. This is why I believe Spiana should be in the deck, just to be able to mitigate all the counterblasting you're doing, or potential counterblasting. So overall, I think like this is a good place for like a beginner that's never played Premium to like try to experience Bermuda. The other decks, like Riviera, Prism, Highlander, they're good in my opinion. Riviera takes some luck, and I don't think that I wouldn't prefer a new player to buy a deck and for it to be luck based. I would rather have some consistency to it. Highlander could work, but then again, most of the better pieces to make that strategy work would need higher rarity cards, which would be nice to have reprinted, but also just some in-game mechanics that the deck can do is not really healthy for the format at the moment, but that could be negated just because of history collection, so we'll see if they would do that. Prism, like I said, I think Prism will probably be better than this because it's just super simple, and they can reprint older Prism cards. It's just the fact that it's kind of centered around its own archetype. It's not really open to like adding other cards because it wants Prism use specifically. This you can add whatever you want to it. You can add like a mini Prism engine to it, and I don't think it would do too bad since like the V Prism stuff is pretty generic anyway. This allows more player freedom, same as the Harry set and the Grand Blue set. Definitely just allows a lot of openness. So that's why I think that this might be one of the better ideas. They could also just make a Lore's deck set. I'm not sure what they would do for that, just to connect to I guess like history collection. It would make sense if they did that. But anyway, that's pretty much the video. Again, this is just an idea of what Bushro could do. I will leave a code and a link to the deck list for this in the description below. I'll probably make a pinned comment for those who don't look there too. And you can read the cards, and you can even try it out yourself if you have the cards, or if you're using like proxies or anything. I recommend just looking through and just testing some of the combos, because it is a very fun deck. I have tried it before. It might not be the most competitive because just because of how the meta is, but I think it's a very good introductory set if a new player wants to come into the game and they will like to experience like the bounce aspect of Bermuda, because Bermuda has a lot of different archetypes, and they can all feel vastly different. Like I said, Prism's bind, but this one mainly focuses on bouncing and multi-attacking, which is like the core and foundation of Bermuda. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like to see me do another deck set for another art type for Bermuda, will be interested in that. So if you enjoyed the video, I'm Zenarion, and I'm signing off.